Hey team, welcome back. So now that we have our get projects out of the way, then the next CRUD operation that we're going to be working on is the update project, update an existing project. Now the flow for this one is actually has two parts. Obviously, we need to load an existing project that we're going to get by identifier. We need to load it on the form so we get all the existing data and obviously change it. And this initial part is going to work in the following way. So when we click on the update project info, this is obviously going to have a parameter, and that parameter is going to be the project identifier. It's going to pass that project identifier to the form, and the form, when it mounts, it's going to call the get project action, and it's going to pass it that parameter. That parameter is going to go back to the SpringBoot server. It's going to fetch that existing project if it exists, and then what's going to happen is that then it's going to dispatch the get project action, and it's going to also dispatch the payload, which is obviously that existing project, and then it's going to put that project in our state. And then the next step, obviously, we have to connect our component to our store, and then that's what's going to allow us to literally display the existing data on the screen. And again, you know that I like showing you the actual use case, and I like to supplement it with what's working right now, which is that tool that we have on Heroku. It's right there for you folks, so you can always go get it, and you can always go play with it. So when we go here, update project, let me see if I can actually open up the screen here. As you can see there, right here at the bottom, right here at the left bottom corner, you see that it goes update project, and it passes the parameter, which is the identifier of the project, and then that loads the project right here. And as you can see now, you can make changes to everything but the project identifier, which is not updatable, and it cannot be null, and it has to be unique. Okay, so basically that's the use case, is to first load that existing project. Then the second use case that we're going to implement is obviously to submit the updated project. We need to pass the existing object, and if you recall, when we were wiring this up, the only thing that you need to do in order to be able to use the same create project endpoint is that when it's an existing project, you need to be sure to pass it the database ID, which we're going to do, of course. And then it's pretty much the same dance. We send a project object. If it's valid, it returns the project object and sends us back to the dashboard. If we have errors, then it's going to dispatch the get errors action with the payload of errors, and then it is exactly the same dance. And as you can see, and this is good because now you guys can see that I was not lying when I said that this is going to get to a point where it's going to be very repetitive. And as we move forward, I'm actually going to expect you guys to, once you understand the architecture, you actually go and try do this on your own. And by the way, you should be able to do this on your own because the backend, we already did that. So if you want to give it a shot, give it a shot. And you know, it's actually practice that could help you grow your skills. But if not, you know, in the next lectures, we're gonna start working on this, right? So in the next lecture, I think the first thing we're going to try and do is to create the component and then set up the route. And it is very important that when we set up this route, we pass a parameter. Okay, so whenever we trigger the update project route, that one has to have the parameter, which is the project identifier. And this is going to be where we're going to use some of those props that router passes on to the component when the component gets rendered from a route, right? So that's what we've seen those props quite a few times now when I started talking about props. So you should be somewhat familiar with what I'm saying. But anyway, we're gonna go back to it And I think in the next lecture, we're just going to load the UI and make sure that the route works. Then the lecture that follows, I think we're going to work then on loading the existing project. And then the last piece of the use case is going to be, of course, submitting the update and refreshing the dashboard and showing the updated project. All right. So again, I hope that you enjoyed this architectural walkthrough. As I mentioned before, and I'm drilling on this because I want this to stick. In the real world, you're going to have a solutions architect, you're going to have a senior developer, you're going to have a project lead tell you or walk you through the architecture of what's expected based on the use case. So you should get familiar, or you should get comfortable looking at documents like the one you have in front of your screen right now, and actually following the development plan based on the proposed architecture. And that's usually what professional developers do on a day-to-day basis, especially in the enterprise. When you're working at the enterprise level for large corporations, you definitely need stuff like this, because there are so many moving parts in the environment itself that you need to know exactly what your game plan is going to be. Okay, so thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one.